Welcome to Prayer Beyond Words, felting our stories, or getting back into the boat. Now, in your pack you will have got some little bits of wool. Obviously not as much as this, but I'll try and put a variety into each of your packs. In addition, you will have got a piece of green felt, and you will have got a couple of felting needles and a felting needle handle. And I'll also have put a little bit of this white silk, felting silk, in as well. Now, first of all, I'm going to actually be working on a piece of white. That's so that I can show you more clearly how the felting works if you haven't felted before. So put that aside and get a bit of white. So first of all, you take your needle out of its tube, and you'll see that it has a little hook thing on the end. So you put it hook end down into your handle, and then you put this has got a groove. You see the groove? It goes against the needle like that, so the needle lies in the groove, and then you just push that in to hold it really tight. It's quite easy to break them, so I have put a couple of them in your pack. Now I just want to show you how the felting works. So if I take this bit of red, which is nice and contrasty compared with the white, and if you've got a hairbrush or a dog brush or something like that, you can sort of spin it out a bit, but it is all right if you just do it with your fingers and tease it out. Now if I just lay that on the corner there and I stab it a few times, I can't quite see it yet. I'll do it a bit in the air so to make it more visible for you. Yeah. You'll see that there are two little tufts, and that's because the needle has hooks, so it pulls the wool through and attaches it to whatever you're doing it to underneath. Now I've got it over this foam board, but you can see that the foam board isn't quite deep enough. So what I would recommend you do is to get a cushion and work on a cushion, but it needs to be a cushion that's got a foam kind of stuffing, otherwise you'll find that you start pulling the bits out of the cushion. So I'll just get a cushion and work on a cushion for you, show you the difference. So now I've placed it on the cushion, having taken the cushion cover off obviously. This one's got polyester fibre, and so you'll see that if you stab into that, there's no risk of breaking the needle, but when you pick it up it will have gone into that, but it does come out again. I expect you can see that. So what we're going to be doing is thinking about our journey with God, felting our story. So you'll need wool, and there are some feathers in your pack as well, coloured feathers. Because they've got little hooks on them, you can actually to some extent weave them in too. Now each of our own life journeys is unique, and so is our life journey with God. So I'd like you to think, especially the times when your faith has had special surges forwards, times when you came onto the way, times when you've been drawn back into the way, times when you left and were then drawn back into safety. And this background felt, or cloth if you want to try it on a different kind of cloth, if the colours, the green isn't suitable for you, that represents your life. So what I'd like you to do is to take one colour or several colour to represent the underlying sort of river of God, or Jesus as the way, and think of that going across your piece of felt. I'm going to take that bit off for now. So choose your colour that you're going to use, and so it'll show nice and clearly. I'm going to show you what I mean using a little bit of this. It's lovely and bright. And how you picture the way or God going through your life will be very unique to you. But I'm going to put it somewhere about 1/3 of the way along, and then I would fasten that on with the needle, and you'll need to work quite a lot just thinking about Jesus the way, thinking about the river of God, or the golden thread as it's expressed in Ecclesiastes. Or silver thread, maybe it's a silver thread. And then in my case, because I tend to think from left to right, I'm going to think of my life having started this end and is moving that way. And I'm, in my case, and you will obviously do this totally differently because it'll be how you do it, I'm going to think of my life as whether when I was in the way or not on the way. And because I grew up in an atheist family, I started off not in the way, so I'm going to put a little bit of colour on the end down here to represent a bit of my life in which I had no idea that God even existed. But yours obviously will be quite different. Sorry, you couldn't see that. I put it there. So the idea is that gradually you fill this up with the times when you're in the way or following Christ, or however you feel about the journey with God inside of you, and gradually fill up the felt, thinking about what drew you back, what drew you to God in the first place. If you weren't always, some of you will have known God all your life. Some of you, it will have been a sudden thing like St. Paul. Some of you, it'll have been a very gradual thing. And then once you're on the way, sometimes you will fall off it. Your faith will drop off, and you may even turn your back on the church. Many people do for a long time. And then you may gradually come back again. So all of that will be expressed all over this until you have a piece of felt which expresses your life with God, really, your journey of your own life, but also your journey with God. And I should spend quite a lot of time doing this, because you can just go on fastening, you can go on adding little colours on top of each other. So if you wanted to add another colour to represent something particular that happened in your life, you can just put it in. And this, unlike the other prayer painting we've been doing, you have much more control over. So it's a matter of thinking and spending a lot of time thinking about what should be on it, allowing the Holy Spirit to show you. If you've got the silk, it won't show on what I'm doing, but you just take off a tiny little bit and it also will fasten on, but not quite so well as the wool, but it does have a very interesting effect. You see, it hasn't gone quite so far through. And then when you've finished, have a look at what you've done and maybe write comments about it in your journal. And you might add to it in the future. Something happens, you might think, oh, I'll go back and add that into my journey. If you've got felt of your own, then I would suggest you do it on a bigger piece than the piece I'm sending you. Of course, you can always add another piece of felt on if you want, just literally by putting this piece of felt onto the end of the other one. Let me show you. It doesn't work too well with these two, but it does work a bit. And then you can just go and work your way along and stab it all in and work along. So that's the end of our last session of this prayer painting retreat, but we will have a live session later on today.